Hello and welcome to another episode of Page Burners. We are working our way through the Malazan books in publication order, books by both authors Stephen Erikson and Ian Esselmont. We're currently on Midnight Tides. We're going to be talking about chapters 18 through 20 today. Chapters for next week are going to be 21 through 24. After that, we have one discussion left before we'll be done with Midnight Tides, and then we'll probably do a spoiler chat. At some point in a couple of weeks after that, we'll meet our first Esselmont book, which I'm super excited about. With me, of course, we have the usual group of friends. They introduce themselves, tell us what they're most excited to talk about. For me, it's most of chapter 20, I think. All the lore stuff that we find out that Tehol and Bug discuss in chapter 20. Carl?
I'll jump in. I'm Carl. This is my second time through the series. I continue to be amazed by how little I actually remember from this book. Like, there's certain things burned in my memory. Other things completely, like, not even a little bit. It's like reading it fresh again. And one of the things that I know I'd forgotten about until Shannon early on, when we were reading this book, pointed out in a spoiler thread, is what I want to discuss today, which is Turadal Bryzat and the reveal we get with him. Let's go with Dan.
Yeah, I'm Dan, and who cares who I am? But what we care is what I want to talk about, and I want to talk about the king, I think, and I want to know everyone's opinion on the king, and if if you think he's a good guy, a bad guy, or whatever, because I think there's some interesting discussion there to be had. Okay, Shannon.
Yeah, my name's Shannon. And what I want to talk about is probably the same lore stuff as Varsha. Specifically, though, I was going to focus in on some of the neat stuff about death. Because I think we finally get that explained, to which Carl had guessed it right last week when he was talking about it. But I'll also throw in, I think, you think, real quick, about chapter 20 or 19, the stuff with Rhulad kind of still going nuts and really kind of just grabbing a hold of Udinaas as his only safety float, even though Udinaas is lying to him.
And
then,
I'm
Mirka.
Mirka. Hi, everyone. And today I'd like to talk about Serembedak again and the continuation of her journey.
Nice. So I think if I remember correctly, chapter 18 starts with a tiny segment with Nerek. Then we don't go back to it, but something interesting is going on there. I think we found it in the last set of chapters that the Nerek were left behind. All the Tist Eater escaped when they knew that the Letteria are likely going to burn them to the ground. But they left the Nerek behind, thought that they were going to die there, presumably didn't care about it. But the Nerek survived because they are now on sanctified ground. I guess the question I have there is, was the sanctification because of the blessing that Mayan gave them, or is something else going on? And also, what else did we get out of that section? I think there was someone who got pulled in to go to war or something. Oh, the wardens or the equivalents opened up for them, I think, at the end of that section.
I do think it is because of Mayan's blessing. And that's my reading of it, at least.
Which is crazy, right? Like, that leathery magic seems to be very powerful. Very, very powerful. And then they're just sitting there unharmed because someone sanctioned the ground. That's
How
pretty
is
intense.
she so powerful, though, to be able to do that?
Is it her power or just the connection that they have, or maybe their worship? Or I think the Nerek said that their gods were dead or weren't as powerul.
Mm-hmm.
And presumably something she did maybe awakened their spirits. So I feel like maybe she's not the source of power. It must be something awakened by what she did. But I can't say I know what.
I mean, we did get a section later on with Serempedek talking about literally like all gods that she thought were dead, but the power was still there.
With the Tartanal, right?
Yeah, so yeah.
Are the Tartanal the Nerek gods?
I don't think so, but because I think they mentioned different tribe, right?
They might
I thought,
be.
but could be.
They're talking about because there was that group of Tartanal that are worshipped. No, they are. Oh shit, what are they called? It's a specific group of Tartanal.
Not Toblagai?
Fan?
Some other group?
No.
No. It's I cannot remember their name.
Toblakai? No.
It's not like one of the ethnic groups. It's like a name for a specific group of Tartanal like warrior gods that are worshipped by the Nerek.
Was it one of the things that Karsa got called?
No, these are much older. The reason why I feel confident it is these people is for prequel reasons. So it's and they definitely earlier mentioned these gods being worshipped, but as like kind of a forgotten set of gods. I don't know. I think what Dan was saying is right, that like it's the power in the ground, not necessarily the gods themselves, that protects the Nerek, and that power was awakened by Mayan's blessing. I mean, this is a world where belief, I think, can be incredibly potent.
In that section about the Nerek, they say, and I quote, "Their fear holds them back, and yet it is that very fear that will force them to accept they have no choice." And I have no idea who that is about. Is that about the gods? Or yeah, no idea. I kind of marked that sentence because I'm like, I need to pay attention to the explanation of this.
Do you have the full like passage in front
Yeah,
of you?
it's like it's the very beginning of the chapter, like third paragraph. The knife sharer came to his side and crouched down, and then follows the quote that I just read. And then they're like, "I know when you first spoke of your dreams, I believed you. Yes." So it kind of like immediately goes into like they don't talk about it anymore. But like whose fear accept what? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it has to be related to the gods. Maybe the Tartanal gods. What would they be afraid of, though?
I wish I had my book in front of me. I don't know where it is.
Yeah, I don't know who they were referencing. And there's this concept called knife sharer also, which I don't recall.
I know. Maybe we'll have to just get back to this at some point later in the book.
Yeah. We have to try and remember these Nerek for later.
So the next scene is
Fear
it's hard to
confronting
read.
Charles.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but reading about Fear and the way he treats Trull and how Fear is just so broken, it just really upsets me. It makes me angry. I mean, I love it. Like I am on the edge of my seat. I'm gripped reading those scenes. So, when I'm saying all of this, like the negative emotions it evokes are, powerful. It's enthralling for me. Just seeing what Fear has become. I wonder if his name, I mean, it's got to be intentional, right? But does it literally just mean
Mhm.
fear, or is it supposed to mean something else also in the Teist-Eder tongue? Something to ask Erikson, maybe. Because he's acting out of fear in a big way.
But he couldn't have been named for the fact that he's the one who fears. I imagine this is someone you will fear, which
Right, no, I agree,
if that's
totally.
the reason for his name, then yeah, that's an interesting flip.
Must be.
I feel like it must be a word in their language that means something different than our English fear. Because we do not see other Teist-Eder with names like fear. You know, they don't all have
Yeah.
like Puritan names.
Yeah. Do you think similarly, like Silch's ruin does not really mean ruin? It's just an Andy word.
You know, that's a great point. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah,
unclear.
it's very unclear if they are actual English words or not.
I wish.
Probably Steven Erikson made that, name on purpose to do this sort
Right.
of.
It is
connection.
so obvious that he had to have thought about it.
Mm.
And so the question becomes, why? What is he intending? And in the world, does it mean something different? Are we supposed to treat it like a cultural thing? Like, is this just a poetic flair, poetic flourish? Like what? I don't know. What do you all think about not the name, but Fear and Trull right now? We got a lot of them in these chapters.
Yeah,
Am
I
I
I
think
the
liked
only one with
how,
strong opinions? Okay.
sorry, go ahead.
just a quick note, I liked how Trull stood up for himself when they were discussing the battle. And he was like, well, you would have quite some trouble defeating me if you wanted to kill me. And I'm like, finally, because he's been the reasonable one, the shy one, or like kind of, not overselling his skills. And it just felt good to know that he has it in him.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't really answer your question. I think you were asking about the
No, that's
like-
something. I mean, that's related. I was just curious if like, are you all as gripped by their relationship at this point in the scenes between them as I am, or is it just like, whatever?
Grip of a relationship between him and the demon.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I love when the demons start calling him names. and I love that little misdirection when he when it looked like he was protecting him because Trull protected the demon, but no, it's like, I'm taking revenge because you denied me death, I'm denying you yours. But going back to Fear and Trull, real quick, I think I love the tension in Fear to try and protect Trull from whatever might happen. Like, I mean, I think he's threatening him so that Trull doesn't get hurt by someone else. And sure, it's partly his belief, but then the tension between that, and I think this certain lack of reason or base instinct that all the Aeder are now following to come conquer, right? And when Fear says, you're committing treason, and Trull questions who is it treason against, he has no answer. He's not saying against our brother, against the emperor. He has to go quiet, I think, because he also has to think about that, and he knows there are holes in what he has set out to do. He just doesn't want to think about it. And having Trull around constantly reminding them to think is not helping. So he's shutting him down, I think, maybe a little bit for his own sake, but mostly for Trull's sake, so that he doesn't get harmed by others. So that was a very deep scene. I think it told us a lot about where they both are at mentally and emotionally and with regards to each other.
Fear is a great character. I don't think I appreciated him on the first read. Like, I don't remember him standing out very much. Trull and Rhulad were, I mean, they're the two with the biggest focus, and so they're the ones who stood out. But Fear is himself, his arc. It's rich, and he has been really complex and multifaceted from like page 1. And I'm so mad at him right now. Like, I'm so sick of him. I want him to just get punched in the face. Like, I really wanted the demon to just like throw him to the ground because he's acting like such a craven. It and he's a great character. Like, I can still empathize with him and understand like why he is acting the way he does. But to me, it's like, it's just the banality of evil and cowardice, just going along, like allowing himself to be broken and to be a part of all that is wrong here. I mean, I think back to when he gave up Mayan. Like, he had a role in that. He could have said no, and who knows what would have happened. Maybe he would have gotten killed, but like, Fear just, like, he sucks. He's a great character, but like, he's the eldest brother, isn't he? Like, he needs to fucking step up and act like it.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a paradox, right? I think cowardice is a good word in his, like, to describe his actions right now. There's that scene where Trull kind of, I think he realized this a while back, but he's just voicing that opinion for the first time, where he's saying that Rhulad is going to die a bunch and it's going to be terrible for him and he's going to suffer. And Fear's reaction is to like cover his ears and be like, stop, I don't want to listen to this. It's just like complete denial. That was very disappointing for me. Because he must know it's true and he must think it too. He just chooses to not think about it or like just blindly follow whatever's happening and not ask questions, which is again the same thing that happened when they went to retrieve the sword, right? They just blindly follow orders, didn't ask questions. Trull was the only one who asked questions. So yeah, it's just kind of like history repeating itself with these brothers, it seems.
You definitely, I mean, okay, I try to keep in mind that Trull is the one telling this story. So we're probably going to get a slightly softer view of him just based off of that. And we're in his head more, right? But that said, he just by far comes across as the best of the Sengars. And it's not even close. Especially at this point where he is like the only one speaking out, standing up in any capacity to Rhulad's tyranny, and therefore the tyranny of the crippled god. And I mean, we know how this ends, unfortunately. I mean, that's part of the power of it, is we know he gets shorn.
Yeah, all that talk of treason. And I think, if I remember correctly, in the prologue, he is accused of treason, and that's the reason for the shornment. What is it? So yeah, we know that this constant speaking up does eventually get him in trouble. And we don't know if Fear was in that group, that part of the shorning group. I don't
We know a brother
remember.
was.
A
We
brother
don't know
was?
which one.
Okay, that had to have been Fear, because I feel like if Rhulad had been there, he'd be described for how he looked. But yeah, I think, what was I going to say? Yeah, Fear is also interesting because I think he's sort of the P99 of the Tist Eater, right? Like, he's allowing Trull to get away with what he's saying because he's a brother. But that's about it. If this had been anybody else, he'd probably have killed them. And and so he is sadly representative of where all the Tist Eater are at right now and how blindly they're following. And he's got to be one of the more sensible one amongst them. And if he's like this, then how blindly are the rest of them following Rhulad and whatever this glory is that they're going after? And all it took was a few sentences from him, that was all, to get to shape the future of this entire people.
I think it speaks to, this is going to sound corny, but the power of stories, and I think specifically the right story for the right audience. So like there is this, like they are a superstitious, magical people who have a victim complex, and Rhulad comes in with an omen, this magic sword, comes back from the dead, and he tells them, yeah, we're gonna, kick ass and take names and, reestablish how great, we were, and, destroy the Lethari, our enemies, while we're at it. We're going to conquer them. Actually, not destroy them. We're going to conquer them. And you can see that so often with the sorts of charlatans, tyrants who take control of different countries is, they tell the right story to that country. You can see it in Lether, right? With like the idea of that they have this prophecy, the emperor is going to rise up, and, even in their whole economic system in some ways, like is this big story that they all tell each other, and that they take advantage of. And it's just, it's real. It's real. It's like, it sometimes feels kind of masturbatory when writers are kind of highlighting, the power of stories, but like, it's not just like telling myths, although myths themselves are powerful. It's the kind of cultural narratives you talk about day to day, a politician telling a story to an audience.
Yeah, this is, I think, I don't even want to say exaggerated. It's more, I think, a demonstration of that kind of power that words and stories have, and maybe fear or the lure of past glory and the promise of a future that's going to bring you that back.
Yeah,
Which I think is like what a lot of leaders are now capitalizing around the world, I think, just like right this moment. So.
interesting choice of words, capitalizing also. And in Letheris, right? Like that is it is this like hyper capitalism. It's clearly kind of a satire. And I think you could, imagine an alternate scenario where they're, the stronger, more winning side, with some tyrant rising up out of like a dark version of Tehol, this uber, money making genius who becomes their tyrant because that's what they value, right? And so he comes in with a lot of wealth. He comes in with the promise of more wealth and glory, and maybe some sort of symbolism to support that. And then suddenly, the Lethari are the greater force. And maybe the crippled god is the one leading them, it's
Yeah.
just a little alternate scenario to think about.
Jaren Eberict is in some ways, he has the potential to be that tyrant,
That's a great,
right? Because, yeah.
yes, absolutely.
And he's like a terrible, he's anti-Tehol, I suppose. And, well, okay, I don't remember where that whole mystery goes with how he manages to murder upwards of 10 people a day, which I think I wasn't here for the last discussion. Did you guys talk about that? How the hell this guy could manage to kill that many people, and if that's really true, or is something else going on? I feel like maybe we're heading somewhere else for an answer with all this talk about the whole of death not having existed and now coming back and so on, but we'll see. Sorry.
There's got to be another answer. To me, this is like just looking at it from a narrative perspective. Like when you get an answer to a mystery this early on, that's never the actual answer. Like there's always the last minute reveal. You think of murder mystery. It's not the person who suddenly gets caught, and 2/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way through the story. And you're like, oh, it's obviously that. No, it's never that person. So there's got to be another layer here. I have no idea what it is. I don't remember. We'll see. I'm curious.
No,
All
this is
right.
the
So
chapter where they. Sorry, go ahead.
or no, go ahead.
I was asking, I think between this and the next chapter, they take the place where the queen and the prince had escaped to, right? another city. In the last set of chapters, they took Trait. This time it's another place.
High Fort.
Skyport?
High Fort.
High Fort.
High Fort, sorry. Yeah. And I think... So I guess what's interesting about that is that the Letheri are expecting an equal-ish fight in the sorcery department, and they think that it'll come down to the soldiers on the ground. But actually, the sorcery is so powerful that the Testida revealed that their sorcerers are destroyed, and there's like just one holdout who also dies a kind of pathetic death towards the end.
It's pretty crazy. They steamroll him.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like showing also how, Letter's rule doesn't breed loyalty really, because it's all just about money. It's not about any sort of, I don't know, culture integration, or I don't know. Like they're just like, people don't care about Letter really because it's just an oppressive system, and it's not, you don't want to fight for the rich people basically that are oppressing you.
Yep. It takes a different kind of narrative to motivate that, right? To motivate the masses to fight for you.
And it was also a little bit in the that whole section, a little bit with the Serempedic and the stirrups from Blue Rose, right? Which is like, I guess they conquered them, but it seems.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that they just like made shitty stirrups for them so they couldn't ride. I thought that came in a later book, but it was now, and it was awesome.
This is also when we find out that the Blue Rose are Taisandi, right? That they're some sort of, I think they're described as atavistic Taisandi.
Yeah.
I
Some
think
sort
they
of
don't
thing.
come out right and say it, if I remember correctly, but I think there's implications. They worship a shadow god. Guess, wonder who that might be.
No, they definitely say it, because I had forgotten it and would not have caught it. Maybe it wasn't in this chapter, but they do at some point here explicitly say who the Blue Rose are.
Oh yeah, I think
In the bug part, they hint at it, and then later on, who was it? Was it
Bug?
was it the consort
Bug?
that was talking about it in the past? Also, there was somebody else that was talking about it in the past. And then he called, he had the atavistic endy, and that's where he puts it all the way together.
Interesting. We had complained earlier about how the editor seems so much more colorfully, diversely drawn than the Andi. And so here we are seeing other cultures, other developments, other types of their people.
And I did want to say that was also seeded earlier, because this chapter 18 also had my buddy Alrada on, who I've really grabbed a hold of this read through. Like, I just really dig him, but he's, earlier in the book he was described as part Blue Rose, or he came from Blue Rose, but he clearly looks Tistandi. He's got white hair, dark skin. So he's a half eater, half Andi.
That is interesting. So we get some stuff with the queen and the prince, and they get captured. Thoughts on queen and prince, and what's the guy? Norvath?
Morok.
Navath, who sucks.
I thought it was really interesting. I going back, having just read chapter 20, going back now and seeing this, and now Morok, when he comes across these soldiers and they're like, the queen was captured, and he's all angry at them. Why didn't you die when she was captured? And that's the same thing he's confronted with when he gets back to Lether in chapter 20, which is, you were her champion. You were supposed to die with her. Why are you here? And then realizing, and then reading chapter 20, he lies about what happens here in chapter 18. He says he was separated from him and, all this stuff, but no, he Yeah. It's like you were saying, like, he's not going to die for one of these rich people that he doesn't really care about.
Yeah. So, and I think a lot of people get accused of not protecting the queen, but we don't know if they do any different. But also, we don't know if they really were unable to protect the queen. I think when Turudal Brizat, we don't know how he knows, but he talks to Morok Nevid, is that his name? He says, I know you, there was nothing you could do, but nobody else is going to believe you, so you're not going to be welcome around here. You need to
And
reinstate
he
your
Well, I don't
was
think
the
there's
one
anything.
who kind of thought that something was going on, right? Like he had a bad feeling before the battle, but I guess that it's on him that he didn't mention it or, just didn't do anything about it.
Well, I think the implication really is just that, everybody's mad at them because you were supposed to die rather than, when they got captured and you didn't. And it's not that, you couldn't have done anything. It's just you weren't supposed to live through that. Which actually, yeah, when I was reading 18, I did want to pause. There was a brief exchange between Alrada On and Troll where this guy what is his name? Karnath was dragging Bader away, and it was like, oh, he's very young, and Troll's like upset, like, oh, he's young, he's dead, and Alrada was like, well, but he was bloodied, and it's just like, well, yeah, he earned his death, I guess, because he killed people, but it's still, like Troll is able to kind of be like, well, yeah, but that's still sad. While Alrada On is still part of that society of like, yeah, but it doesn't matter, because he bloodied somebody. He was bloodied, so therefore it's okay, he's dead.
Yeah, that friendship / relationship, I don't think it's quite a friendship, because I think Trull, if I remember correctly, in the previous section, he talked about how Alrada used to be one of the people who questioned things with him, but now he seems to be awfully quiet, and he's like buying into the whole blooded warrior thing. Maybe he believes it. Who knows? But
Well, he specifically told Trull at some point, I'm not sure which chapter was this, but one of these three, that he doesn't hate Trull specifically, he just hates all of the other. That was him, right?
interesting. I don't remember that, but I missed it.
Wait, did I read past chapter 20? Maybe. Maybe it was in the beginning of chapter 21. I'm sorry. It's not a big spoiler or anything.
No, it's possible I missed it. I don't remember. Yeah.
I just know I kept reading, so I might actually be misremembering things.
Well, we have 4 chapters next time, so you got a head start. But Seren Padak, I think now is a good time to talk about her, because I think she features a lot in these 2 chapters.
That's true. Yeah. I'm really liking this little story of hers. I think last time when you were not here, Varsha, we discussed her emotional reaction to Baruch's suicide, and we kind of discussed why she was affected so much by it. And I think these chapters kind of explain it. Like, I think he was just feeling guilty for not seeing it earlier or not kind of talking to Baruch when she had a chance. I think she mentions like choosing to ignore his hints at this resolution. So I guess that makes sense that she felt so strongly overwhelmed with guilt after someone lost their life, right? And I'm really liking the relationship she's building with the Crimson Guard. And the fact that we learned that she is talented in warren manipulation, or maybe is becoming sensitive. similarly to how Corlo, is his name Corlo? I think so. Corlo manipulates Mokra. That's very appealing to Saren. It kind of makes, I think it fits her well. Like, she was good at reading people before. And she came across a very intuitive person. So that kind of makes sense with how this Warren is described, and then how Corlo manipulates people, or like, just takes their thoughts, or intuitively understands what they are like, and then in some cases uses it against them. It was nice that she found some relief from her grief and from her guilt. That was a very strong scene. And I don't think it was necessarily something magical, right? I think they were describing a process that people have to go through in the real world as well, just like kind of dealing with your grief, letting it all out, crying it out, and then you feel better if you accept what happened. Yeah, that was very interesting to read about. I very much enjoyed that.
Yeah, I really like Saren. She wasn't one of my favorite characters for like the first chunk of the book, but I have enjoyed where her story has gone. I think really since the war started, and I I don't know what it says about my psychology, but that her grappling with her rage and wanting to avenge herself on her rapist or on people like them, and how she's like, filled with self-loathing on top of that. And, just the confusing psychology there, I think is really rich and interesting to me. And maybe it also helps that I feel like she's maybe a little more active now, while for a lot of the book, it kind of felt like she was there watching scenes happening. Um, and now she's really like changing. She's really gotten my attention. I enjoy reading her chapters or her scenes a lot more. I just wish I knew why she's suddenly magical.
Well, Carl, that says you probably have rage problems. But uh, Serendipity, one of my favorite things with Serendipity was such a small little scene. It was the little bit where she's cutting her hair and then she's burning it because she knows that, like, if a warlock or whatever gets a hold of her hair, they can do all these terrible things to her. And I just thought that was such an amazing little world building
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
It's like we don't think about that in our world. It's like, cut my hair, whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
if you have these kind of mages that they can do awful stuff to you, it's like you have to be careful.
It speaks about her experience with the world and like what can happen, right?
And how knowledgeable that's when I guess that's really it. It's with her because maybe a lot of people wouldn't think about that, but she knows these people that live all around the Letheri kingdom, and she knows that like that's something they're capable of.
And the subtext there too, right, is she doesn't want to let more men use her body. Yeah. Right? In a different way,
That's
but
true.
it's like that's the subtext. And it's, man, it's tough. I think, oh, what was I going to say? And I just love getting the insight into why she turned against the Etter, and that if it was Han and Mosak, she probably would have joined their side, but Rhulad, she just does not trust.
Yeah.
And she thinks
She's
what's
thought in
going on there is
madness.
terrible. Yeah.
But not that as much saw. I think she felt the madness mostly. Like she witnessed some of it, but the really crazy scenes with Rhulad, she was not there for them anymore, right? So she had to, again, using her strong intuition, kind of already feel that this is not going well, that this is not something that she wants to be associated with.
Is there a scene?
Remember,
Go ahead,
the Crippled God's whole problem with Han and Mosak was that he didn't, he was just happy making the Idor powerful. That's all he really wanted to do, was just make them a mighty kingdom. He didn't really care about, it's Rhulad who wants to go take over Edur and do all this stuff. So yeah, I could see Saren, if it wasn't involving this war with Lether, she totally would have just been like, okay, yeah, here's a new kingdom.
Is there a scene that you all think, is there some event that we saw within this book that maybe isn't occurring to me that would have been kind of the inciting incident for her magical developments? Because to me, it just comes out of nowhere.
Maybe, I wonder if it's connected to her hearing the voices in the rocks. That happened a couple of times. I don't know if anyone else heard them, but
That's interesting. I don't even remember that.
My take on this is that it's not just coming out of nowhere. I understand that she was always like that. It's just that nobody who would notice was around because there were no Mokra mages in Lethery, of course. And yeah, I don't know. I think that there is evidence that she was always kind of inclined to this type of mind manipulation, or could read people's minds, quote unquote. There are plenty of scenes where her and Hal Bedick are talking, and they are kind of almost reading each other's minds, or they know exactly what they mean. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just something that she has naturally, and now because she is in the presence of a mage that understands these sort of things, she's starting to think about it more and maybe letting it show up more.
I'm sure there were hints probably, and they just passed right over my head. I mean, Dan mentioned she heard voices in rocks. I don't remember that at all. So that sounds like, some kind of hints at magical abilities. But I was just curious, if there was something that, like that I had missed or forgotten about.
And it's not that she's a mage all of a sudden or anything like that. It's just, I think Corlo just said that she has a talent. And I think there are plenty of other people in these Malazan books, Fiddler has a talent, right? He's not manipulating warrants, but he has some sort of sensitivity to things. I think maybe Saren is in a similar way. And then, I think it was already mentioned in this chapter that she's maybe experimenting a little bit with that, and we'll see where that goes.
And she's the mistress of the empty hold, right? Or
That was
co-mistress.
suggested.
Right.
Yeah.
Whew. We'll see.
Is it
Hopefully-
maybe? Sorry, go ahead.
I was wondering if did we figure out anything about the voices in the rock, since we mentioned
I
them.
think they were Andy, right? That's all we know.
Yeah, but again, doesn't explain what's going on, right? We don't know what's going on. Okay.
Is that in these chapters, or is that earlier
That was
on?
before.
Okay.
Well, the first time it's super early in the book that she hears the voices, right? It's just every time I pass by here, I go and listen to them or something, and it's hot, and it makes me, feel secure or something like that.
Okay, that's definitely a hint at, her magical abilities. Wow, that went right over my head.
Yeah, and then last time we discussed that she even heard them speak and discuss events and things, right? They mentioned Menandor, and then mentioned that one of the brothers will return, which I think it's still Chaz.
But they seemed more aggressive or more scary the last time.
Yeah. Okay. I remember that stuff now. Yes. So we briefly talked about this, or I'm sorry, Mirka, do you have anything else you wanted to say or discuss? Any questions
I guess
about?
if we are moving away from Saren, there was one more thing that is worth mentioning, and that's the Tartanel statues. That she felt as if they were coming alive. And I guess I don't know. I think, well, it might have something to do with the Azath and like the things that are escaping from the Azath, right? I'm not sure if we already know.
The Serigal.
Yeah, we already know that, right?
Yeah. These were the Tarthanol that I was talking about earlier too.
Okay,
these
yeah.
5.
So those are the ones trapped in the Azath and escaping, and like they are the ones who Kettle is talking about as the dangerous ones, right?
Yes.
Really? Oh wait,
Okay.
I didn't connect that. Okay, I see.
It wasn't completely explicit, but if you're listening to the audiobook like I am, the guy puts on his same voice that he does for Karsa.
Okay, that's
For
fun.
the guys coming out of the earth. I'm like, oh yeah.
That's funny.
What voice does he do?
It's I don't know. It's kind of
Is
a
it like
deep,
an accent?
I don't know.
Does he
Yeah, it's a certain voice he does for Karsa. I mean, he does a little bit of voices for people, but it's definitely like a specific voice he does for Karsa that he is attributed to these guys too.
All right, and I did want to correct myself from earlier. I was wrong. The Nerek do not worship the Serigal. They worship the Erikson. Stephen
That's
Erikson does it again. This man can never give us words that are very distinct. But you know what?
Wait, so Erikson is we have like the goddess of whatever,
Homo
like
erectus. Yeah.
beasts or okay.
Yeah, which
Yep.
is why they said something earlier in the book that kind of
She is the one who rapes Trull.
yeah.
True. Right. And she's Kettle's mother as well.
Yes.
And I guess that makes
Somehow.
sense. Yeah.
Does it?
Some time travel is involved and she's her mother.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
Trull is the
sure.
father.
You don't think about it too hard. It makes sense.
She can travel through time. She raped Trull and she has a daughter. Connect.
What's not clear about this, Dan?
I don't know. It should. Yeah, you're right. It's very clear.
This book series is famously very clear and easy to read. So I don't know what the issue is.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes, well, I do feel like I'm missing out a bit by not I'm kind of not making these connections or not realizing who it is. You know, like I fear I'm like, oh, am I missing out some emotional implication or some like thing here because I can't remember who this name is?
The answer is yes, but
Yeah.
I don't think you can. Like, it's just, there's too much. You can't get it all. You're going to always be missing something. So that's part of the joys of the book, is there's always more to unpack and to find.
I don't know about, well, I mean, I'm going to have to see when it ends, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to read the series again.
Okay.
Once I finish. It's a lot. It's very long.
It is very long.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And it would make the
Awesome.
most sense to like finish it and start immediately over because it's all fresh in your mind and all the Easter eggs will be there, right there for you to discover. But also, like after you are done with the 10 books, and like we are also covering Eslamond and all that, it would be, it would be pretty intense to go back to Gardens of the Moon and start again.
Couple of years later, maybe. But
yeah. But by then you forget what you knew, right?
Well, you remember the big stuff. I waited a couple of years because I was kind of where Dan was. I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to read this again. And I've said, I mean, I really struggled with the end of the series just because I was just like, it was so long and I just wanted to get it over with by the time I finally got there. But it sat on me for a couple of years and I was like, I really want to reread this. And then I'm just having such an amazing time rereading it. So,
yeah,
who knows?
I'm sure it does help if you're reading with other people.
Yeah, it's useful having other people. The back half for me on my first read blazed through. I don't know what, I mean, it wasn't like, it was still over a relatively long period of time because these books are enormous and I read other things at the same time. But I don't know what it was. I just like locked in. I was feeling it. I got it. It really helped with Bone Hunters once I felt like I actually understood how things were coming together.
Yeah.
So that's getting a little ahead of ourselves there. But so we briefly talked about Lilac, the demon. I want to talk about him more because I'm obsessed with him and I love his relationship with Trull. And also, Varsha, I read that bit differently than you. I thought it was more of Erikson's dry sense of humor and the demon was being sarcastic. That like, I think the demon did want to die, but now he's like, no, yeah, he's not actually mad. He's like, this man, stopped me from dying. And so, now I'm going to stop him from dying. Ha ha, fuck you, sort of thing. Like, I read it as a very heroic moment that like made me want to like get out of my seat and cheer.
I mean, it was because he protected Trull, but I mean, I think it's somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's quite the act of revenge that he claims it to be, but I also don't think it's straight up I'm protecting his life. It seems to be somewhere in between. Yeah, I don't know. I agree about like the dry sense of humor, but and he reminds me a lot of Grey Frog. I think purposely
my boy.
misinterpreting or not quite understanding what the humans want, understandably so. And he seems to have been like similarly plucked from his place of comfort, right? Didn't Grey Frog, or was it a different demon, have a similar history where they were just like chilling in a hammock or something and they got plugged into this world to to fight and be demons apparently. So yeah, I see that. I see what you mean. And I was just like ever so slightly disappointed when he said, "Nah, I'm just like stealing his life like he stole mine." It wasn't like outright protecting him, if that makes sense.
I read it totally differently. I think it is this like affectionate move but he's saying it in a very dry demonic way. I don't know. I'd have to go back and see if I'm just pulling that emotionally out of my butt. It's very possible. But that was one of my favorite scenes. Honestly, that could have been the scene I could have highlighted to talk about because I just loved it so much and found it so powerful and so engaging. Feels like so cinematic. I mean, it's a classic moment, right? And then you've seen Trull, standing up for this demon that no one else will stand up for. And it just hits you over the head with how much the editors suck right now. I mean, they've always had their flaws, but they've gone full on, like they're just as bad as the Letheri. It's just really sad.
I mean,
You
the
think
demons have not
was
been.
Fear actually? Sorry,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
just like as a side question, do you think Fear was actually going to strike Trull? Like, I guess that's what it reads like, but I'm like, no way.
No, I don't think
Like,
so.
would
I don't
he
think he has it in him.
actually kill him if the demon didn't intervene?
He's too much of a scaredy cat. No way. No way. He has too much of a conscience still. I think it's worth highlighting also, in case you have forgotten, this demon has a strangely childlike voice. So
Really?
imagine
I
this
didn't
little
miss
like
that.
high-pitched, like soft, kind of sweet voice coming out of this weird freakazoid's mouth. I am obsessed with Lilac. And with a name like Lilac, how can you not love him? It's just so sweet. I want a Lilac in my life.
Birthday was a fisherman and he got pulled in here to fight somebody else's war.
He's got a wife and kids. Unbelievable.
Yeah. I do like the demons. Every time they appear, they seem like pretty chill, to be honest. Most of them. Well, I mean, they do like killing. All of them.
I don't
even
think
the
Lilac
chill
does.
ones. Yeah, but
Lilac
even the
doesn't
chill
like
ones are
killing.
like, oh, I still want to eat people or whatever. But they're also kind of like, I was minding my own business and then we're all brought into this world. And like the world of the demons seems pretty cool. I don't know. Every time we get these little glimpses, I'm like, oh, I want to go there. I want to see what's going on there.
You want to talk about, one of the ways that Erikson loves to subvert classic fantasy tropes this is maybe among my favorite, how he handles demons. Because like most people, it's like, oh yeah, they summon demons from the hells, and the demons are just like one-dimensional slaughter monsters, right? And and maybe they're very cool, you know, like I love a demon that gets summoned to fight, but like there's nothing to them. And here it's like, yeah, no, they're like completely alien life forms, but they had their own lives. Like they did shit. They're hysterical. They're like all some of the funniest characters. I love it. I love how Erikson writes them.
I guess the demon world must just be like way more dangerous than just the normal world. Kind of like it seems, because all these demons
Yeah.
are pretty strong and they're just normal people there, right? And they do describe
good
some
point.
stuff like, oh, you know, I was hunting Fear, and there was the huge fish in the sea, and like all those dangers in the demon world and the jungles. So it does seem quite an extreme place to live in. But I just hope that at some point some characters go into a demon world and we see what's going on there. I wonder if it's just one world or many different ones.
It's many different. We do know. They don't all come from the same place. Like the Aptorians come from the Shadow
Okay.
Realm.
Oh, true. Hmm.
So about the place where this one comes from, right? So the place that has rivers and the giant catfish and all that. Was it in these chapters where they mentioned opening? I think Rhulad mentioned opening a warren in one realm and then flooding
Oh.
another one. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that the giant catfish were mentioned before many times in the previous few books.
Yeah. True.
And yeah, it's just like, I'm not sure if I guess it's not a spoiler because it's all there, but basically they're doing it. They're opening the warren from Lilac's world and flooding another world, another fragment. And then that's where Trull ends up, right? Eventually. And that's where we saw like multiple characters have visited that world. With Selanda and all that. So we just see the origin story of all this, I think.
So bringing it full circle, this alien world's oceans got transferred to Krald Immerlan, got transferred to the desert, the Veraku.
Oh, I guess so.
Is it Veraku as well? I'm not
Because
sure.
that's where they get the water from.
Okay.
Isn't it?
Yeah, from
Is
the
that what
fragment of
floods
Krald
Veraku?
Immerlan. Yeah, that's true.
So they
isn't
had
it just
demon
crazy?
water.
Like we saw, Gessler and Stormy were on Selanda, Karsa was on Selanda, and it all just kind of starts being explained now. So I guess that answers the questions about the timeline as well. So this has to be before all these things happened, right? So because they are just talking about opening that warren and flooding the Krald Immerlan.
So it's like the same time as the first book, maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
But we still don't know where the ship came from, that specific ship, and how it ended up there, right? We can imagine, maybe there's a story.
We don't know yet, yeah.
Yeah. But
Good
we're
question.
getting there.
Good thing to bring up as we near the end of this book. So the rest of chapter 19, we get some really interesting stuff with Udinaas and Rhulad. Wasn't that someone's thing that they wanted to talk about? Am I crazy? Did I make that up?
No, you're not crazy.
Is it yours? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we get a brief little section here with Udinaas. He goes back and first of all, keep going with my Featherwish hate club. She tries to throw him under the bus for having the wyvern. I was like, what? Why are you telling him that he has that? It sucks. And then
she's being tortured, to be fair.
Well, we didn't hear tortured. We just hear beaten nearly to death.
Okay.
there's nothing said there about her asking any questions while she's beating her.
Just some light beating.
No,
Just
it's
a
a heavy
light
beating,
beating nearly to death.
but and Udinaas even sticking up for her and like, hey, maybe stop beating her. But I like that, she ratted him out, and they were like, oh yeah, there's another suspicious of him, but Rhulad busts in, and then summons a shadow wraith who just happens to be the one that's broken free, uh, to check him for this withal, and he doesn't, and of course it lies to him, so he doesn't have it. But I just like Rhulad's continued like descent into madness. He's at the point he doesn't feel like he can trust anybody now except Udinaas. He admits, taking his wife was bad. Like cuz it's turned out all bad for him.
Who could have seen this coming?
Nobody.
Nobody.
I
Not
kind of like that
Rhulad.
part though, where he was talking to Udinaas, and it's kind of like, it's kind of like, let's work together to rule things and make it. It seemed like in some ways he's trying to make things better, in some ways, in a very misguided way, obviously. But I did like their conversation and their sort of relationship. It's interesting. It's very interesting.
I love their relationship.
Yeah.
I think it is very interesting. And Udinaas's extremely complex feelings about it. I mean, he even like thinks this is like, here's someone who is like, he is not evil, but he is actively like the chief advisor and best friend of this guy doing a lot of evil. And he's the angel on his shoulder. It's so interesting. It's actually kind of a reverse. It's occurring to me now of the classic trope, which we see manifest in Lotheris, of the evil advisor, right? Like that's the normal way you do it. The king is misguided or the queen is misguided by their shitty bad guy advisor Jafar, right, in Aladdin. And here, Udinaas is the voice of reason, of morality, and he's having to tread very carefully, but that's the role he serves with this tyrant.
Yeah. He does feel slightly an enabler in the sense that it does support him a bit in some of these parts, especially more at the beginning. He felt a bit more like that. But I mean, again, he's a slave, so he has to do what he needs to do. But I don't know. It's complicated. I don't know
It is
exactly what
complicated.
to think about what he's feeling, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
think
was
we're
actually
getting
one.
hints how he's not like pure, exclusively pure. Like that, there
No.
is a little bit of like manipulation going on, but ultimately he is supportive, and the one thing that maybe keeps Rhulad from going completely insane, right? Like he is the voice of reason in his ear. Sorry, Shannon, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, one line I really liked was Udinaas thinking to himself. He said, "I'm not an evil man, yet I have just vowed to stand by his side. Errant take me, what have I done?"
Yeah.
So he's aware of the situation he's put himself in.
I think it makes you, you have to think about like manipulation, as you put it, Mirka. Like I think we naturally have a aversion to, and maybe because it implies the other person doesn't know they're being manipulated. It implies secrecy. It implies control. But you think of parenting children, or I mean that's kind of a very obvious dramatic way, but like, and Udinaas is sort of like a parental figure, or a big brother at least to Rhulad. The way in which sometimes this kind of like quiet, soft manipulation can actually be a good thing because it helps the person be better, or certainly it helps them from doing much worse. It's interesting.
And then
It is
and then
morally
before
like it's ambiguous. You know, it's not just like neat and clean. It lives in the shadow.
He also feels responsible for the fact that he was the one who put all those gold coins on him, right? So
Yeah.
the extra weight and discomfort he has to carry around, among other things. I think at least a part of his horror is that he's this living corpse, which he wouldn't have been if he didn't have all those gold coins on him, right? It's the funeral ceremony that following which he became alive. So he is in some ways a walking corpse, and Udinaas feels responsible for that. I thought that was really interesting.
What one of
Oh, Trull noticed this as well. Like, observant as he is, there is this scene where they are together and Trull is like clearly seeing the importance and the impact that Udinaas has on Rhulad. And then, he says to him, do not betray him ever, or something like that. And it just tells you how much Trull understands that bond that has been created in between them. And yeah, it's crazy how the Trull's character is just like noticing everything and acting on it as well, right?
my man?
Yeah.
An aspect of Udinaas too, I think that I particularly enjoy and find interesting is that he is a lot of the roles he embodies and the way he approaches life are we would traditionally view as like more feminine coded. Um, he's very nurturing. He is not a big, strong warrior type at all. His power is his compassion. His powers is his words, his gentle touch. His ability to guide someone. Um, I think that is very interesting. Um, he has a child by rape, right? Which typically, when you see these stories, it's the woman having to deal with that, and the consequences. And here it is, he's the one having to deal with that. It's very interesting, and I think quietly subversive. Like, you still won't find a lot of stories with a character like Udinaas today. All right. How about Sandalath Truecorlot? What are our thoughts there? See you smiling, Varsha? You have thoughts?
Yeah, I thought that scene was really funny. So the last we saw Withal, that's his name.
Yeah.
Mm. Uh, he saw Sandalath walking in from the ocean, and the cripple god tells him, you should feel grateful. I brought her here for you because you were all alone. And he starts praying, and and then next scene, she's yelling at him because he's still praying, apparently several days later. So I thought that was hilarious, and that she basically doesn't give a shit about the cripple god. She's treating him like a bratty child, and she must be, if not physically, her soul is thousands of years old. So she's a very interesting character, and knowing where her story goes, I think this re this memory of where it started is nice.
She is a bit abusive. I don't know if anyone else also. I don't know. I was cringy a little bit how violent she was. I don't
Yeah, it
know.
was unnecessary, wasn't it?
Did she knock him
Yeah.
over while he was praying? Is that what happened?
Yeah,
Well,
she hits him like
twice, I
really
think.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She punches him a couple times, but I will say the last time she punches him, she did sound a little concerned. Like she was like,
Yeah.
it almost did sound apologetic. Like I think I might have broken your cheekbone or something.
She's not a very nice lady, but she has been a ghost living on her own for untold thousands of years. I probably wouldn't be very nice either.
she did sound way nicer as a ghost, you know?
Yeah.
She was very nice as a ghost. She was like, "Oh, I don't want to bother you too much," and stuff like that. And now she's making a lot of demands, basically.
Well,
I don't know.
well, Dan, when we have bodies, we've got hormones and chemistry
I
inside of our
see.
body.
That makes
That
sense.
when you're just a ghost, you don't have those things anymore.
Dan, do we need to
Are
tell you
you
about
really
the temporal
talking about
and the
hormones
keys?
in relation to women's behavior right now?
Women.
Not just
Women.
women. I mean, I get angry too.
Thin ice. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I
did.
also really like those scenes. I think you all have said what I would have said, but good stuff.
So we talked about it briefly earlier. I did want to talk about the Blue Rose because that was here too with the first mention of them, where Saren was talking with them, and I really liked that. The the Letheri, I guess they didn't have any cavalry before the Blue Rose, and now they came and gave them horses, and then they've given them intentionally messed up saddles so that they can't ride their horses. And I don't know. There was something about that I really liked. Which, I mean, what is it? Is it that they swivel around or something like too much? Like when they're trying to ride the horse, it just allows them not to be able to control the horse.
Yeah, it's that. It's also a hook, I think, and not like a full thing, a whole whatever. So you can kind of fall off your foot.
Okay. It just sounds something that like a Tistandi would do. Like here's some sandals that are, or here's some saddles that are all messed up, and actually, yeah, this is where we get most of our clues that they're Tistandi, because she talks about how she had this lover that was one of the Blue Rose, and he acted like he'd seen everything before, and I think Ironbar's asked her a bunch of questions like, are they really long lived? What do they look like? Are they dark skinned? So he's keying into it.
I'm interested in knowing more about what went on with the Blue Rose and the Letheri, because their relationship sounds kind of interesting. And it was like, how did the Letheri conquer the Blue Rose? And they mentioned some sort of like Shadow King or something.
I think numbers, because I think it's like the Tistandi. They don't have like they live forever, but they don't breed very often. They don't have very many children. So I think the Blue Rose are probably, it sounds like, I would imagine, the same. Like they don't necessarily, like they're long lived. Now I don't know. Maybe, yeah, we don't know much about the Blue Rose. Maybe they're not pure Tistandi. Maybe they're mixed with humans. We don't know yet. But it does. I think I want to say Ironbars might have said something about numbers. But I think that's really what it comes down to, the fact that there's not that many of them. So if it came down to open war, they would probably get rolled over.
I think it did say that they don't live. I think they live longer, but they don't live like infinite. I think they do say that. Right.
Well, they did say that about the Tistan or Edor. This book, that was I think that's chapter 20 where they finally brought that up. Which, because I'd been wondering about that, like, do the Tistidor have the same lifespans as the Andi? Because they don't seem to. They don't seem to be immortal. But yeah, they're. I think it's and this is going a little bit into Barsha's thing, but I think Bug says something like they have extremely prolonged lifespans. So
yeah,
not infinite, but very long.
Yeah, we discussed this multiple times. I'm glad it's finally cleared out because I wasn't sure either.
Do we want to jump into the next chapter then? The final act of this book? Midnight Tides?
Night Tides.
Nice. Okay.
Yes.
So we're back in Letheris. Pretty much everyone is like, this is terrible. We're losing. Seems like we're going to lose. The king fully thinks they're going to lose. Kur Khan is crazy. They're all saying you can't kill Rhulad because he's just going to get stronger. First is like, I don't know what the hell to do. Can someone explain to me why Kur Khan is suddenly crazy? Was there some magical feedback bullshit that happened? I don't understand why he's suddenly crazy.
Is he actually crazy, or are people around him just thinking that he is because he's so lost in what he's doing?
I think he was, yeah. I think Varsha's right. I think, they're talking about him like he's crazy, but if we go back to the beginning of the book, there was that it was almost our introduction to him, was where he was like hanging upside down, looking at some map, and like Briss had to like talk him down because he was, he's like, oh, I'm getting such great, inspirations looking at it this way. And so I think he's always had a little touch of madness, a little weirdness.
What you might politely call, he's eccentric.
He's eccentric, and so so the counting the flagstones thing didn't seem that far different than what he was doing earlier. It's just now people are actually calling him crazy.
Yeah, well, the thing is that
exactly.
Brace witnessed all of that before, like the hanging upside down, and now he's witnessing the same thing, and I think there must be something more because he thinks he lost his mind, right?
That is exactly what I was going to say.
Mhm.
I thought it was just that before there was not a critical time, but now he's like he expected him to be,
Maybe,
focused
yeah.
and helping. He's probably still helping, but we don't know how because he's so into it. But I think that's how I read it. I read it that before he was just eccentric and it's fine because it's normal times, but now he thought he would be more focused.
Right. That's a good point. Like he shouldn't be because it's a serious situation.
Yeah. So
is he fully crazy though? Because like he's saying, you must not kill him, which I think he must mean Rhulad. And so that's actually quite an sane observation, right? Like he figured it out that killing Rhulad only helps Rhulad. So yeah, I don't know. I think he's on top of things, maybe secretly.
I'm not sure how I'm supposed to feel about it. I think that's what it's like. Totally bumps to me. I love his character, and I just like this completely lost me because everyone is acting like he just lost his mind, like he suddenly has gone senile. And so I don't know if I'm supposed to read this as like they think he's having a nervous breakdown because they're losing the war. If there was some sort of magical feedback when all of their sorcerers got slaughtered because he lost a bunch of his people, we do know that. Is he just caught in grief? It's just like unclear to me exactly what's happening, and it's entirely possible I missed something, but I just found that frustrating.
Was Breeze one of the people who thought him crazy, though? I thought it was just other people saying that he's gone crazy.
I think it was Breeze as well.
Breeze as well, yeah. Breeze specifically thinks about, like, he has a whole conversation with someone else about how, basically the guy's like, it must be extra hard for you since you're his friend. And Breeze is like, yeah, thanks for stating the obvious, dude.
But I mean, he doesn't deny that he's crazy, but he's not the one to initiate the calling of him as crazy. Right? So it's like
he does think
he
about
kind
it
of sees
later
their
on.
point, but he's not. Anyway, that's how I chose to interpret that. I didn't think he was actually crazy. I just thought he's so he's just mad scientisting something.
It just doesn't seem any different in that regard. If it were like any different from what he's already been doing, so I just don't. It just really stood out to me that suddenly everyone is talking about how he's fucking crazy, and so this seems like it must be a big deal, but I don't know why he's crazy.
I mean, they expected him to protect them because that was their biggest advantage in the war.
Exactly.
So
exactly. No, exactly. Like the state, like there are a lot of things that I could see, like I understand why they're concerned, and I can imagine reasons why he might suddenly snap. I do not understand how we're supposed to read him snapping now. Like, how crazy is he actually? Is this any different from prior behavior? What was it that made him snap? Like, what type of, because like these are different sort of emotional states. There are lots of different flavors of crazy, right? And so it's just unclear to me. I don't know. We get some other good stuff. We get some shenanigans with Shirkalal. She gets a nail in her head and then spontaneously decides to bone Tehol, and Tehol's, he's along for the ride.
Okay with it?
Yeah. I was almost like, sure, yes, like she has feelings for Ublala, and like Ublala's talked about
Mhm.
wanting a monogamous relationship, and then she jumps to Hell's Bones, and I'm like,
Yeah,
That was
the way she said that,
disappointing.
like, where was, I wish, I wish you were Tehol, or I wish you were Ubalala. When she said that, I was like, oh, maybe she's got feelings for him. That's so
yeah,
great. Oh no, she just wants to have
I know.
sex.
It ruined it for me. It
I
totally ruined it
yeah,
for me.
yeah. Erikson, yeah, he did it to me too.
Yeah.
Any strong thoughts about any of that stuff, or do we want to move on to the
I
hold
thought
of
it was
death?
funny that I think it's not a nail she gets through her head, it's an iron bar. And I thought
That's
it
right.
was funny that she gets an iron bar through her head when we have a character called Iron Bars. Is that
Foreshadowing.
foreshadowing?
Mm.
I don't know. Well, that's it.
Hold of
What
death.
else is there? Oh, bug and hell conversation, right? That's a good
Yeah,
one
Varsha,
because
did you want to talk about
Yes.
Take it away.
the massive lore drop?
Yes. But first, I want to address how that conversation went forth with Tehol occasionally acknowledging that it's weird that Bug knows so much, refusing to ask questions, and Bug completely ignoring whatever Tehol is saying and saying, just like, putting in fillers. Exactly,
Yeah,
master. And then like moving on to,
yeah, you're.
yeah.
He said you're either making things up, or you either know way too much, or you're just making stuff up. And he says, precisely, master.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that aspect of it was hilarious, but everything he says, well, I think the hold of death, Kuru Khan was talking about it too, that there wasn't one and now there is. And I think Bug knows about what happened. By the way, did you guys talk about what the frozen thing is under the fifth wing that's helped shore things up last week?
Oh, yeah, I blew past that the first time I read this, but I picked up on it this time. Did you guys? We didn't talk
it was
about it.
mentioned before with the huntress, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he went
It's
and
the
put
same
her
thing.
somewhere. Yeah, I think that's what he did under the fifth wing. And he's like, I'm not responsible for the cold drafts. I'm not going to address that. But I think it's because
Yeah,
he put the jagged there.
yeah. The jagged was waking. Yeah, he put the jagged down there
Yeah.
to I guess freeze it and shore it up.
Mm-hmm.
So not the jagged, it was a demon, right? Or
Or is it?
something.
Yeah, it's a cold
She was
demon. Yeah, that's it.
a jagged
She was
demon,
the
I thought.
jagged.
Or like
She was
jagged
a jagged, yeah.
a huntress or
But
something.
yeah, he put the cold demon down there to shore it up, and now, yeah, that's why he's like, "Do you really want to know why?"
It's like, no. So, okay, so there's that. And then he talks about the hold of death and how it's coming alive. I don't remember if he mentions Kettle or he goes to Kettle afterwards and she's coming to life and getting really irritated at all the annoyances that living bodies have to deal with. The bugs are itchy now, apparently. Poor thing. And then what else does he talk? Oh, the Czech. He talks. I think he also meets a Czech god. I mean, I think we are told later. We don't know at the time. We just told that it is a god that's leaving the Asath house, and it turns out that it is the Czech
Jack.
god,
Yeah.
and whom
Yeah,
apparently
they're in
sorry.
a temple now,
Hmm.
and then the
The errant wants him dead.
yeah, he
Mhm.
wants Moloch to go kill him.
Yeah, he
Okay,
wants.
maybe should we pause here, very briefly? I think this is the thing I want to talk about, and we can maybe save talking about it in depth for a little later. But I think it is entirely obvious the reveal that happens with Turtle Brazad here, like as in your face as it could be without literally saying it. Dan, did you catch it?
I did
Shoot
not.
me.
Wait, because I was
Shoot me.
wondering.
Okay, shoot me. That means we probably shouldn't talk about it then.
That's why I caught myself.
Oh my god.
So I think, to be fair, I think Turudal Brizad is about as interesting as Bug right now. I don't think we know who either one is.
He's a god. We know that much.
And
Yeah.
Turudal Brizad?
Turtle Brizad, we know is a god.
How
Bug
do we
thinks
know
of
that?
him as the god.
Yeah.
Bug, we don't know what Bug is.
Who thinks of him as the god?
Bug. Bug thinks of him as a god.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I agree with Varsha that we don't know who either of them is at this
think
point in the
The
book.
god. Yeah, I think the god that Bug mentions is the guy he sees at the Azath house.
You're right. I'm mixing things up now. But it's all of those things that are like are what I'm like. They basically spell it out for you. Like there are like 3 scenes in a row. I'm sorry, Dan. I don't mean to like, piss on you here, but like this is.
No, I disagree. I don't think there's enough there to say who. I think there's just enough to be intrigued right now. I
Yeah.
don't think there's enough to say what is going on.
There are like back. We can maybe return at a later date
Yeah,
when it's explicitly said, but it's like back-to-back scenes telling you all of these different things about all of these people that
Yeah.
like to me is like as good as saying this is like Bug. Totally unclear. Like what? Like if this is your first time, it makes sense. You would have trouble guessing who he is. Turtle Brizad, I feel like they give you the stuff. Like it's all in this chapter specifically, and like the scenes are back to back, like literally one after another.
I'd like to, if you post that in the spoiler thread, I think that would be interested to know what specifically you mean, because I agree it's there, but I would say it's as hidden as Bug. I'm not sure, maybe a little less so, but still hidden to me, I think.
Okay, I'll bring it up.
Okay,
Maybe I'll write that up
cool.
tomorrow morning. Okay, so we'll leave that there then. I guess all I can say about Turtle Brizad is I think it is very interesting that this mysterious figure. Okay, let me put it this way, because I already kind of spoke out of turn, so I'm not going to spell it out. But I called him a god. Like I said that earlier. Dan heard me. Anyone listening, it was the first time they heard me say that. Like I said that. We find out that he's a weird person who knows a lot of shit and a lot of magic stuff, and it's all like something's there. He's got a lot going on. And in the very next scene, Bug talks to someone who he identifies as a god, who wants to kill all the other gods in the city and team up with Bug. And Bug does not like this guy. We also know that.
I thought that was the guy at the Azath house who came out of the Azath house, and I thought that was the god that Turudal Brizad wanted to kill, meaning the god of the check, who they were coming to the city.
No, there was a guy who came out of an alley or something across, and yeah, they had a brief conversation.
He is just described as a man, and
yeah, it's just a man.
By what they talk about, it's clear that it's Brizad.
Yes.
It doesn't reveal who he is, but it's clear that he's talking to Turtle Brizad, because he's asking him, like, did you, estrange the prince from his father? Like, was it all you're doing in the palace? So that's
all
pretty
of that
clear
stuff
at
is
that point.
That's exactly. That's what I was talking about. And then I think that there are other details around these scenes that tell you basically who he is, but that is the most important thing. So, okay, I'm glad that like that's explicit at least, right? That like if you're reading it like, short of just calling him Turtle Brizad in that scene, like that's telling you what you need to know,
And well, he does say that he's going to try to prevent Udinaas from showing up. So like, it does tell you that it is not just a consort.
Yeah.
Very interesting stuff.
Well, and he says some weird stuff like, "I wonder when you'd make your move," and all this kind of stuff. Like clearly this guy's very powerful. Whatever he is, whoever he is.
I'd like to mention also, this won't help you figure out who this guy is, but that Kettle does talk about talking to another man who visits her sometimes, who she calls uncle, who talks about all of his lovers, none of whom he actually loves, women and men, and that he just views them all. I forget
Didn't we
exactly,
already talk
but
about that last time, and we kind of revealed that
Yeah.
it was him?
did we say we did? Did we also explicitly say? Okay, I just think it's
I
worth
think so.
bringing back up, right? That tells you even more about the type of person he is and his worldview. Okay, I'm sorry. So going back to the lore reveal, the god of the Jack, who was in the temple, who we met earlier, right? Came out, was a kind of a creepy animal thing, was like it had a diver's form,
Is it the
and
bag?
That's what that is. Oh,
yes, and
Yeah,
Bug,
Okay.
that was the jet
Bug
god.
saw it, right? Bug saw it,
interesting.
met it in the
Back.
temple,
Okay.
and was like, "Calm down, dude. We're gonna keep everyone out. Don't do anything crazy."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
that's when
didn't get.
when we learned that Bug was the waiting man. That was that.
Mhm.
That is one of the biggest hints we've gotten. That's a recurring thing too. The waiting man.
So
Is that why the Jack are allied with Eater? Because they want to come back just for that? I thought. Okay, I just wanted
maybe
to double check.
That is a good theory, actually. Yeah. But does that explain why they worship the sword?
Yeah.
no.
No, I don't think so. Barsha, do you want to lay out the Jack reveals here?
Yeah. So I think, yeah, the god thing, I didn't connect it to the pack. So there was that. And Turudal Brizan wants to kill the god for some reason. And Bug was making some connections to the Jack also. And apparently this all ties back to the First Empire. So with
So
Felicin and co in Deadhouse Gates, we saw this ritual that they keep referencing that destroyed the First Empire, right? Apparently a bunch of them decided to do something that would make them all soul taken. I think the first ritual was just to do soul taken, and then some of it became so powerful that some of them became divers, perhaps. So the Jack, it turns out, were created by that ritual that destroyed the First Empire. So, and the First Empire sort of separated the continents somehow. So that's why Kellenwed's thing. Oh, okay, never mind. That was Iron Bar. So we'll talk about that. But that, like the Malazan Empire, wherever it is so far away from here. But then they have related history. Like Raraku has the First Empire. It's sort of, I guess, is it a sarcophagus the right word of like what they all saw there buried, the portion of the ritual, and then the Jack are the live equivalents of that, presumably. So that was interesting,
Mm.
and there was something else about that. No, I think that's all. That's all I got.
The last little the bow on this I want to put is just that this is the First Empire of which Decembalakis was emperor. Decembalakis being the emperor who became the Hounds of Darkness. It all kind of comes back together to whatever ritual this was, whatever they were trying to do to get this beast power that led to their empire crumbling, led to Decembalakis making a pact with the Hounds of Darkness to become the Hounds of Darkness. That led to, I mean, clearly it must have been tied up to the worship of this beast god.
Wait,
Whoever
that's why they
did.
mentioned the Planimas, right? Because the Planimas appeared to kind of like do damage control on that ritual and tried to
yeah, I think that's why
kill.
Torald and
Oh, okay, yeah,
Bug are worried. They're worried that they're
right.
going to come to
Because
damage
the
control again.
pack is, awake, and the god of the Jack is awake, the god of the beast is awake. So they are worried that the Planimas will show up again to deal with it. Okay, that finally makes sense. Okay.
Is there a ritual that's something? It's the same thing that like Felicin found at the underground city when they escaped, right? It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we apparently that's what ended the First Empire. And I think the revelation here, we knew about the ritual, but that actually ended it. And then Torald, he's talking to that other guy, something with an M. And yeah, he's talking about the jets and how they have connected to it. And I will say, Varsha, you said presumably they were created that. I've read enough Malazan to know they did not create it there. They have some connection to it, I guess, but they predate that.
Who, the Jack?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
that's
I
not
think
because I was going to say
I think that's fascinating to from a bigger, and we can't really talk about it here, but just from a big, one day maybe we'll talk about it from
Sorry,
a
say
bigger
that
thing.
again,
Eject,
Shannon. I didn't catch it. Can you
I
repeat
said
what you
the
said?
Ject must, I do know they predate the first ritual. Like they go back further than that, and so maybe they were some, but they had something to do with this ritual. I just think that's fascinating. I don't know if
Did they
Erikson's written specifics about it, but
did they become
I think
soul
Okay,
taken
I
because of
see
the
what you mean.
ritual?
that's what is said here.
Yeah.
My understanding is so
Yeah.
what it says here is the Jack were like the surviving remnants of that ritual from the First Empire. And that is why they are shapeshifters. They're why they are soul taken and divers, maybe. And that so they were humans who turned into
Yeah.
this.
I think
And
the
Shannon
thing
is
that
saying
you
that's
are
actually not true.
Well,
and that
yeah.
they
So I mean,
predated
I think
that ritual.
Well, I think it's a good reminder that in this series there's lots of false information, and even people that are extremely powerful and think they know everything don't know everything.
okay.
Yeah,
I think
that
it's
makes sense.
quite
So is
possible that they inspired the ritual. Maybe.
I have no idea if Erikson's ever written enough to connect the two, or if this is all there is just what we read to, in this section. But I think it's fascinating to think about. Yeah, because Varsha, it's in Forge of Darkness, so
Yeah, I was gonna say there's
get
stuff
there eventually.
okay, yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
I've read the first 2 chapters and I haven't gone back to it since I've been so behind on my reading, but I'll get there.
Yeah, I read the
eventually.
first 2 chapters with you, and then I kept going.
Yeah. It's been months since then. What was I saying? Yeah, I think so. The summary of bugs and Turudal Brizad sources of fear and discussion in this seems to be the Jack are coming, their god is here, bad things are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Seems like it.
Yep. And then we also get it spelled out that death is not here, or not until now, because of what Gothos did. It was that ritual that Gothos did in the prologue that froze time, and somehow that created a big block here that's this part of the subcontinent that doesn't have any warns that connect to death.
Yeah. Bug
Big
confirms it,
win.
right?
Big win for this guy right here. Call that one.
Carl guessed it last week. That was exactly what caused it.
I see. Nice.
But he's read the books before. Doesn't count.
I didn't remember this though. This was as if I was reading it for the first time.
I don't know about that.
Subconscious memory.
I mean, I also brought up the death was kind of like something funny was going on, but I had no memory whatsoever of any of this now. Like I just knew, just was picking up like, this is weird. Death is kind of like not so dead here.
It's crazy how like big a part of the book it is, and how I like we all apparently had completely forgotten it was a thing. I had, for whatever reason, that was not one of the things that stood out to me.
Well, Carl, I've read like 1 million words of Malazan since the first time, so.
I hear you, dude. and fantasy in general. That's about it, I think, right?
Yeah, that's
Did
about
you
it
want to
for
talk about
the
anything
lore
else
stuff.
about lore, Varsha?
Nope, no more lore stuff. But I think Dan's topic is still around, and I'm not sure if we got all of yours, Shannon.
You got all mine. What would you have, Dan?
I just wanted to mention the king of the Ferris, because there is a section with with him talking about basically his worldview, kind of. And if I was interesting, it's not like a huge focus, but I don't know. I think we touched on it a couple of times ago, where we mentioned like the king seems like a chill guy compared to the consort and like the empire in general. He seems like a nice guy in a sense, and from what he said here, he does seem like a nice guy in a sense. He seems quite accepting of things and realizing the reality of, what the kingdom is and what the people, want or don't want, I guess. But he also seems to refuse, being a part of it in a sense, like being responsible to,
Yeah.
but he's the head of it. He's kind of like, oh, I'm the head of it, but I don't have no real power. I'm just a kind of like a cog in the system, it seems like he's saying. I don't really buy it as much, but I see the
Yeah.
point he's trying to say, but yeah.
I agree with you 100%, Dan. I think I think my second time through, I'm a little bit more against him than the first time. First time, I was like, oh, he seems like a really cool guy. He's really chill. I like him. He's really likable and all this stuff. But the second time through, I'm reading this, I'm like, yeah, but he's kind of a terrible king. Like, he's a nice guy, but he's not a very good leader to these people.
Yeah.
Like, he's
He's
not
weak.
leading at all.
Yeah.
And even here where he's like, oh, well, like, I'll give him credit. Like, oh, I don't want to run because I'll invite death wherever I go. If I go to some other state, the Eater will chase me there and kill people. It's like, okay, that's very admirable. But, like, that still doesn't explain the last, 20, 30, whatever it is, been years of your rule where, countless people have died and this is a terrible system and you're still, you're the king. But
Yeah.
I do appreciate his whole, like, yeah, but I'd rather die here and then have the colonies just bow to the Eidor rather than prolong this.
Why not just vote then surrender to Vader if he's that decided and spares the last bloodshed? I don't know. He's very passive. He just lets
Yes.
things happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know.
And I think that describes his whole kingdom, which then kind of like, yeah, if the seventh closure had happened, had happened and he actually became this eternal king, would he have been a good eternal king? Probably not.
Yep. Absolutely. I listen, I'm very American in my views of monarchy, let's say. And so I even wrote a whole book to talk about even when the kings are sort of people you may like or admire. It's a terrible system with a lot of flaws and hypocrisies. But like, if you're gonna have a king, if you're gonna have a monarch, like they need to fucking do their job. You have power. Like, even if there's a system around you, even if there's a parliament or whatever, like, it's just so weak to just sit aside and say, nothing we can do about this. Sorry, guys. I'm just a cog in the machine. Like, fuck that. No, you're the king.
Yeah.
You can do things.
You're
That's
literally enjoying your life while your like barons are oppressing their people. Like,
exactly.
that's the
you have
problem here. The problem
responsibility.
is you're not actually running this.
Exactly.
It
It's like
sounds good. You're not interfering with people, but it's not good because you're not protecting people.
live up to the oaths, like that's the Aragorn of it all, right? It's like, if you're gonna have a quote unquote a good king, like that means like they need to actively try to protect their people and ensure stability and order. And he's just like giving up, throwing in the towel. Weak sauce.
Yeah. To me, it also, I don't think that's the purpose of Steven Erikson or stuff like that, but it made me think about, in a sense, my own life. And it's like, okay, it's good to acknowledge the inherent flaws of the system I live in, but then if I do nothing about it, then, okay, sure, I admit it, but is it that much better?
Right. Absolutely. No, that's a great point. An indictment of,
Apathy, maybe?
disenfranchising yourself. Apathy.
I just thought it was an interesting little thing, which is not the focus, but it's still, it's good how like everyone can take like little pieces from a book or literature and just like, oh, for me this is important and I feel it, even though it's not like the focus or it's not expanded that well.
I love that.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
No.
Thank you for bringing that up. You want to do quotes?
Yeah, let's do quotes. I don't have very
Alright.
many this time.
I have none because my book has disappeared.
There was a super long quote at the beginning of one of his chapters, right? It's like a 2-pager or something, almost.
Okay.
At least on my Kindle version.
You
It's
mean
spread
one
out
of
in
the
like more than a
epigraphs?
page. Yeah.
The epigraphs go
Yeah.
crazy.
It was
for
long,
these.
and I
Yeah.
didn't get any of them. Even the prose one, I was struggling with this time.
No, I'm
I
with
didn't
you.
either.
They were rough.
Well, there was one where it was the description of the First Empire, right?
Yeah.
But it was kind of vague, not telling much. That's true.
Oh, that's actually the one I liked. I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's what is that, chapter 19? Or is that chapter 20?
20, I
20.
think.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting epigraph because it plays into the themes of destiny, right? And that they essentially talk about like their victory being destined, and it kind of gives you a sense of the sort of propaganda, the narrative around Lether and their culture and how they view the world. And I think it's maybe even a more stark contrast, this sense of preordained greatness that they're always going to win, that they're going to overcome. Comparing that with in the chapter, the king, who is the symbol of that nation, just like wanting to throw in the towel, thinks it's all doomed. Everyone is like, yeah, we're toast.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Because, I mean, I don't want to say complacence. I don't know which is right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not quite that, because they were pretty well prepared, but it's also that I think this time they underestimated their enemy. It's not complacence to the level of we always win, so we don't have to do anything about it, but it was complacence of we will win eventually. And I think that's brought up a few times throughout that chapter.
Well, and yeah, it ties into the destiny too, right? Of the like, if the system is so powerful that it will outlast and it will overcome conquerors.
Mm.
They talk about that.
Well, and okay, that's a good segue to what I was going to say, Carl. Because yeah, I had one. It was Udinaas and Rhulad talking, and Udinaas says, "Conquer Lethar, and it will devour you, sir. Your spirit, your innocence." A strange smile twisted Rulad's face. "Innocence, this from a short-lived creature such as you. We shall take offense. We should take offense. We should see your head shorn from your shoulders to proclaim we cannot win this war, and that we. What are we to think of that?" And then Udinaas says, "The answer lies upon your very flesh, sire." Rhulad glanced down. His fingernails had grown long, curved, and yellow. He tapped the coin on his chest. "Bring it to an end. The notion of wealth, of money, crush the illusion of value." So Rhulad knows the only way to destroy Lethris, but will he? Like, that's the question.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sounds like something more like Tejal's trying to do.
I guess replace it with what? Replace it with, I guess, the Eater beliefs? Which are quite violent,
we'll
to be honest.
see.
I don't know if they're that much better, but
I'll go as far as to say I don't think they're any better at this point.
No.
Possibly worse.
Yeah.
Whatever righteousness the Eater had, they have lost.
Yeah, I
Adjunct?
went through
Okay, I
all
had
my
one.
highlights. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Why do we always start talking at the same time? You want to go first?
No, I was just going to say I don't have quotes. I went through all my highlights and they're all paragraphs. So, of like
Okay.
interesting things, not quotes. But go ahead.
I have this one that I like, and it might spark some discussion, or maybe it's just worth filing for later. It's from discussion between Bag and Tehel. It remains common to this day to consider only 4 principal elements in nature: air, earth, fire, and water. Absolute nonsense, of course. Of course. There is light, dark, shadow, life, death, and ice. There might be even more, but why quibble? Yeah, just that. I just thought it was really cool that they're talking about ice as a separate element when they already mentioned water. And
Oh,
then,
that's right.
of course, light, dark, shadow, which is our holy trio, right? And life and death as an element is also an interesting notion. Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Interesting.
I think it's worth adding. I do not remember where I heard this, but Stephen Erikson has talked about how he and Cam Esselmont, when they were putting this together, they wanted different sets of elements. So they like very intentionally kind of structured, I guess, the deck, the dragons, the Warrens, to reflect a different view of elemental energies, as opposed to the traditional,
Yeah.
4, sometimes 5 elements you will see in a lot of Western and Eastern cultures.
Yeah, because in his books, there's 7, right? There's light, dark, shadow, life, death, and ice and heat. Fire, ice and fire. That's basically the primal. Oh, well, no, I take it back. No, dragons have their own. I don't know what.
Yeah.
And beast.
They're like an elemental
Yeah.
force. Yeah.
And chaos.
Okay.
Chaos.
And then chaos, which throws everything out. Yeah, you're right. There's no. It's a lot more chaotic here.
Yeah, I think that's why he's saying there might be even more.
For sure.
Okay, yeah. And then the second one I had was, I think that's a pretty obvious one. What war is it? What war is this? A pointless one. They are all pointless, denier.
That's a
Your
good one.
boy I
Good.
like.
Yeah.
Good quote for our time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Anything else before we wrap up?
No adjunct.
All right. So we'll be back next week with the next 4 chapters and then the final discussion after that. So much to look forward to. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye.